Welcome to our Age of Wonders 4 Faction Build Guide. Age of Wonders 4 is a 4X game that shares many similarities with games like Civ, Might and Magic, and Master of Magic. The choices can be overwhelming, so today we will be talking about the details of a build orientated around Tier 1 archers in the game. My name is Aramusha, and let's begin. Tier 1 archers are generally squishy and very vulnerable in melee. However, they are not without pros. Compared to crossbow, archers' triple shot allows up to 3 appliances of on-hit damage and debuff at range. Their Tier 1 status also enables them to be influenced by powerful perks such as Mighty Meek, Battle Seeker Training, and the Impressment Empire skill. This enables them to output massive damage in the mid to late game, while allowing you to host an army 2 to 3 times the size of others due to their low upkeep cost. This build is a group strategy build and is extremely vulnerable to displacement and damage from spells, and is countered by spellcaster-oriented builds or maps. As for racial traits, I would recommend Keen Sight and Tenacious. Keen Sight is chosen for better long-range accuracy. This is very important as you want to maximize your attack range for exchange with 2 to 3 action points for 2 to 3 shots. Having higher accuracy for faraway targets is significant for minimizing the amount of grazed or missed shots. Tenacious is a good option as it elevates the negative effect that Spawnkin brings, as Spawnkin makes the units more vulnerable to casualty loss by increasing the number of figures. Overwhelm and defensive tactics are also reasonable, but some optimal alternatives. It is to note that Overwhelm tactic only provides 10% crit chance in the game, despite the tooltip in the faction customization screen. There are 2 solid culture options for this build, Feudal and High. Feudal is chosen mainly for the Stand Together perk, as 20% damage when next to an ally with a similar perk is a consistent and powerful damage boost for a build employing group strategy. Feudal also has a reasonable Tier 1 polearm unit to be used as a frontline early game unit. It is to note that Tier 1 polearms transforms into a Tier 2 shield unit once it reaches a certain rank. This is a good thing as polearms are not sturdy enough as frontliners in the mid to late game. However, this comes at the cost of your Tier 2 frontline unit losing access to the hero perk, Battle Seeker Training, and Mighty Meek, losing a significant portion of melee damage in the process. High is chosen mostly for the Awakened state as it adds 4 more spiritual damage on each attack on hit, in addition to range and accuracy buff. They also have Tier 1 shield units which can hold the line reasonably well due to being shielded and gaining bonus defense in Awakened state. They are also able to dish out high damage when fighting enemies in melee range mid-game due to Battle Seeker Training, Mighty Meek, and melee on-hit enhancements that comes with the chosen tomes. As for cultural traits, Prolific Swarmer is required for the upkeep cost reduction. Chosen mainly for the upkeep reduction with the side perks of having higher Tier 1 unit rank and slightly faster pop growth. It is required to quickly reach the 50% upkeep reduction cap in the early game, along with Chaos Impressments. This, along with low upkeep of Tier 1 archers, is what allows you to host 2 to 3 times regular army size with the same upkeep. While some tomes are optional, 5 of them are required. We will first go over the tomes that are required in the order of the tier. For Tier 1 tomes, we have Tome of the Horde, as well as a choice between Pyromancy, Roots, and Cryomancy. Tome of the Horde is a required tome for this build due to its synergy with Tier 1 units and massive damage buffs. It is chosen mostly for Battle Seeker Training, Summon Irregulars, and Spawnkin for reinforcing your army and buffing your Tier 1 unit damage by a total of 50%. It is important to choose one of the 3 following tomes due to their on-hit enchantments. Tome of Pyromancy is generally chosen for the fire damage buffs and ignite debuff. Tome of Roots can be chosen for poison damage with healing support skills, while Tome of Cryomancy is recommended if you are looking for frost weapon enchantments and CC support skills. In Tier 2, we have Tome of the Beacon and Tome of Amplification. Tome of the Beacon contains the spells for Divine Beacon and Mighty Meek. As you might know, Mighty Meek is strong in helping Tier 1 archers scale better as the game progresses, while Divine Beacons are useful in providing constant morale buff and healing. They can also function as additional walls to help shield your formation's backside. On the other hand, we have Tome of Amplification, with amplified arrows that indirectly increases your damage output by 1.3 times on top of all existing damage buffs. Next, we have Tome of Cycles. Tome of Cycles is chosen mostly for projectiles of Decay, for Decay and Nature damage. Decay is an extremely powerful debuff that blocks healing. It is notable to mention that Meteor Arrows from Tier 4 Tome of the Crucible are quite powerful. Sadly, unlocking that tome as a choice requires 6 Materium affinity, as well as 2 Materium tomes, making this spell potentially out of reach without going on a Materium detour. Here is a list of side options that contain spells that somewhat synergize with this build for times when you are seeking alternatives. In summary, the pros of this build includes a powerful early and mid-game military due to 1. Low upkeep leading to larger army size. 2. Benefits well from draft due to greater demand for units. 3. Glass cannon range units with damage comparable to tier 4 to 5 units in the mid-game. 4. Most counters being less viable due to lower battle casting points. This build also utilizes low-cost units, which makes it less costly to reinforce lost units. While the con of this build includes 1. The fact that group strategy requires tight formation. 2. Ranged units become very squishy as it progresses to late game due to tier 1 status, making good formation a must. 3. Displacements and spell damage are more common in the late game. In the mid game, where tier 2 books are completed, the tier 1 unit can fire for up to 75 base damage against a tier 3 unit before armor reduction, while chaining 30% of that damage onto another target. Available debuff will also be applied onto both targets. That's it from me. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.